You're listening to Mama's Garage Podcast.
Welcome back to Mama's Garage. Guys, it's just me for the next 45 minutes or so. I'm going to try to keep it roughly 45 because I don't want to ramble for too long, right? I'm going to try to do these a little more often because they're more for me down the road to kind of reflect on as opposed to entertain, because usually I like to, vibe with somebody and riff and make a clip and whatnot. But when it's just me, it just, my brain just kind of goes. But I'm doing this episode just so I can get ahead of getting some guests on, because I have a guest on Wednesday, but the pod comes out. I edit it finally on Wednesday night, so I don't want to overload myself. So it's more of a, bit of a bump in the road and trying to make sure I can just take care of myself like this. So that's why we're doing the pod just me today, right? More importantly, we're doing the podcast with just me so I can recount the best weekend I have ever had. Now, that seems like a pretty grandiose statement, but I haven't thought of a weekend this perfect in, well, I mean, just listen. You'll hear all about it, all right? For starters, when it comes to weekends in my daily life now, I work a Monday through Friday job, and my weekends are, they feel like they just kind of slip away these days. Used to, I worked at a pizza shop, and I'd work from I'd have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday always off. At least like the last 6 months or so, right? It's a very weird schedule to have because the days that are free are like days that nothing fucking happens. You should be grinding on Monday and Tuesday. This is a Monday right now. Today is September 15th. It's at around roughly 8 p.m., just so we're all on the same base. So future me can be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. But weekends, here's what I like to do. So when you've heard him on the pod before, John Kirtland. He was episode 22 or so. I don't think I mentioned it in the podcast. I believe I DM'd him after. But one thing he used to do when I was a student of his was he would play, I think maybe not like 3 times the whole time I was in there, but he would play this clip from SNL where whoever the guy is from Knives Out and does the fucking, I forget his name, right? But it's some famous dude, Daniel Craig. That's who it is. It's Daniel Craig, and he's introducing a musical guest on SNL, and he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd." And John played that at like 2:39 and 50 seconds, right? And then the bell rang right after, and it took me a second to process what had happened, but he was just back there smirking, and I was like, that's so fucking funny, right? So every Friday at 4 p.m., because I don't ever really work overtime on Fridays, it's always around roughly 4 p.m., I will go, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd." I don't say it because I don't want to be a weirdo in the hallway, but I definitely mouth it, and I do it. I've done it so many times, right? I've been working at my job since December, and it's September, so roughly 9 months, right? What made this past weekend, September 12th, September 13th, September 14th, so immaculate was Luke Franklin got to take a fucking half day at work. You see, I have paid time off points, PTO. I was about to say PPTO, which is from Walmart. It's protected paid time off. But, if you have a job, I imagine you probably have some of these things, or at least like an equivalent, right? And so I had to use a lot of my PTO because it's not going to roll over for the next year. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do it properly. And I was like, well, I do have a stand-up show that I'm going to be on later that day. It's really nice out. The weather's not going to be good like this for a while. It's coming to a close. The fall is here. And I got to use those points. But I don't want to take the whole day off because I want to wake up on, like I normally do. And I guess I'll just enjoy the rest of the day after. And so that's what I did. I woke up around 6:50 that morning. I got in the car at like 6:59. It just rushed. I got to work 7:30, and then I left at 11:30. I clocked out in the morning, which was oh my God, it was so good to say that phrase, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd," at 11:30 a.m. It was so nice, right? But then my weekend began right around that time, before noon on Friday, right? So here's what I did. I left work and went directly to this place in Paragon. Well, it's off 67. It has a Paragon address, but it's a place called Burkhart Creek, right? I've known about this place 5 or 6 years now. I forget the first time I went there, but basically it's like it's like a not a national. Why would I say nationally? It's Paragon. Who the fuck knows about Paragon? But it's like a county owned park thing. There's like a big walking track, and then there's a bunch of grass trails and like a couple of hills and stuff. It's very open in the scenery, and whenever it's middle of the day and nice out and like mid kind of heat, it's like perfect. And so another crazy fun cool thing that happened that day, September 12th, was 21 Pilots released their latest album, Breach, which has been I've only known they only announced the album back in May, so it was like a new thing, and I was so excited to have it. And I'd heard it before the weekend before at a listening party, which was cool. I might talk about that later. We'll see. And so I knew I'd heard all the songs at least once before, and so knowing the album a little bit already, here's what I decided to do with this album. Because usually I get used to the to a new album, just start track one all the way to the last track, right? But I was very impressed with the opening track on this one, and I didn't want it to lose its novelty right off the bat. So what I did is the night before, when it dropped at midnight, this would have been September 11th, the night of. I was like, I'm gonna start the album from like middle of the road. So I started on track 9, and I only listened from track 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. It's all I would allow myself to listen to until I clocked out at work the following day. So then we get to Burkhart Creek. I get to Burkhart Creek, and I'm like, I'm about to listen to this whole album front to back. And I think I listened to it twice while I was out there. I went on a run. I went on a nature walk. It was so nice, and I didn't see like one person. I was just secluded in the forest for a couple of hours. I walked around a bunch. I felt so fit because I hadn't eaten yet. It was just perfect. I took my shirt off too, so I got a little bit of sun as well. I just vibe with that album the whole time. It was so nice, right? I feel like without doing that, my mind would have been a little bit more like all over the place later that night when I was in Terre Haute doing the comedy show. Because another reason why I wanted to take a half day was because I wanted to give myself time to prepare for the show. And I guess I'll explain this in direct terms. The show was, I got booked for it by a guy named Patrick Eaton. He's a guy I met at Hoppy Wobbles, which is the stand-up open mic that I've been going to since December. Actually, I think the first podcast episode, where I just called it Pilot, I think I just got home from doing a spot there, and it went. I can't imagine it. I did fantastic, but I guess I was pretty excited about it, and so I for sure remember talking about it because I'm sitting in the exact same spot I was back then, only 9 months ago. Little 19-year-old Luke, beginning of the podcast. But yeah, Patrick is the one who booked me for this show, and I've been to Terre Haute a bunch because my buddy Trent, you guys know Trent from episode 10, he goes to Rolls Holman, or went to Rolls Holman. He's in Colorado now, and I've been to a few parties in Terre Haute, so I was familiar with the drive, but not familiar with this place, right? But I get to this place with my mom and our family friend Catherine, which is Reese Satter's mom. You guys will hear from Reese eventually. I'll get him on the podcast. But we get to Terre Haute Brewing Co. And I had driven there the last Saturday because I went to 2 listening parties to listen to Breach. And I was like, well, I'm in Terre Haute. I should go check out where we're going to be on Friday. So I knew what the place looked like. Did not go inside yet. Got in there. It's a very homey, like tall ceiling, cool bar, some seating in like the first room, and then you walk through these like double barn doors, and it's this huge room compared to the first one. And there's this big ass stage there, and I was like, dude, that is a fucking stage, like 3 feet off the ground probably, because there's like 3 steps to get up there. So I felt elevated. I felt like it was meant to be performed on, And when I saw that, I had done the material only one time before, which was the previous Friday, September 5th. That was at a show in Mitchell, Indiana at Railroad Cafe and Lounge. Lars, I forget that guy's last name. He's not around here anymore. I think he moved away. But he booked myself, Amy Mashevich, and Brian Smiley on that show. And so the three of us went down to Mitchell. And so that was my first time I ever did 10 minutes before holding a microphone, which was awesome. That set went pretty well. I got some compliments about that, even though I was way more nervous about that than I was excited. Not that I wasn't excited. I was certainly excited to be doing it, but I was just worried about flubbing shit up and stuff, right? But I did the same material and a little bit more in Terre Haute. And without the show in Mitchell 1 week before, I don't think I would have done nearly as good as I did in Terre Haute. It was kind of a blessing in disguise, and I'm so happy I was offered that, and I was even more happy that I had, like, the reason to say yes. I was like, hell yeah, I'll do stand up on the 5th. Let's go, Lars. Fuck yes, please. It's awesome. So the show went great, and I had the poster on my wall. You guys will see the wall eventually when I start filming the podcast. But it was myself, Will Rich, KJ Weaver, Laura Stockwell, TJ Cartwright, Jamie Young, and Tenna McDonald. And then a guy named Levi Elmore was hosting. Patrick, who I mentioned earlier, was not on the show. He was more of the manager of it, right? Which I thought was pretty cool because he was like taking care of shit, But so that was the lineup, and I think the order was Levi hosted, so he goes first. Will, and then after Will, it must have been TJ, and then Tenna, and then Jamie, and then me. And then it was Laura, and then KJ. The show is very long. It was probably 100 minutes or so. I think it was over an hour and a half. But I was given a lot of compliments after the set, right? Which was so nice to hear, because like I've always wanted to be funny, but to actually tell people to tell me, I'm not used to it. It was just I was overwhelmed with just absolute gratitude. But it wasn't just because of the material I did. I think it was a lot of the situation itself. And so the room wasn't really awake yet until Tenna McDonald got on stage, and she was third comic, but like fourth person to do stand up, because Levi was the host, and she brought the energy. She's so fucking fun to watch, man. She does a lot of yelling at the audience, a lot of like squatting and stuff, which like kind of embellishes a lot of your words and everything. She takes the stage up, and she's also a pro. She's been doing it for like 10 years, right? And so she really got the room to kind of bounce. It was awesome. And then after her was Jamie Young, which ironically he's more of an older guy compared to me, because he had a lot of married material. I think he's in his early 50s, probably late 40s. I don't want to fuck him up like that, but he likes cigars. I know that for sure. But he also brought a lot of energy, and I was like, if that's the case, then it's up to me to either the analogy I've been using was they kind of got the stove ready, so it's up to me to either use a hot pan to cook my stuff already, a pre-hot pan, or I could tank it and turn the burner off, which I knew was I knew that was an option that I didn't want to do, but I knew I had to capitalize, so I did. And the only thing that I would redo, there's a few lines that I've reflected on since, but with those lines coming to me later, the only thing I'd like to redo was my initial impression to the audience. I was trying to riff on like how big the stage was, and I just lost my words. My mother was in the crowd, and she was saying how I think I said fuck 3 or 4 times, just the word fuck a bunch. Just kind of it's like a fill word that I use to make myself feel more comfortable. And but then I got right into what I wanted to do. So I wish I had just like been like, "What's up, guys? It's so cool to be here," and then just be like, "Oh, have you guys seen this poster?" And then I had a riff off that, whatever. It was cool, and then I just hopped into the material, and it was because I'd done it before. I'd felt strong about everything. I didn't bring my joke book on stage, which was very important to how well I did, because usually if I lose my spot, I just instinctively look down at the stool that the joke book is sitting on, and so that I can save myself. But what that does is that people see you doing it. They see you ignore the audience for a split second to catch your whale, and also it just looks like you just don't know what you're doing. Which it's if you're working shit out in like a club and stuff, and you're like a well-known person, and it's like you just released a special, and you're kind of working stuff out. That's one thing, and you might probably like make jokes about that, where it's like, yeah, you guys should have saw me last month. I was all my shit was ready, and now it's all unwoven. I got to look at this goddamn fucking comic book to do these jokes correctly, something like that. But I did not bring my joke book, right? And so there was a few times in the set where I had a natural pause, which worked, and no one caught on to me. But there was a couple moments where I forgot what was next. But all I did, I just kind of relaxed and kind of looked up, just kind of gingerly, and then it came to me, and I just started, on to the next one, right? And so I did that a bunch, and the rule we talked about in the comic meeting before we got on stage was everyone's going to do 10 to 12 is kind of like the rough time slot. Levi said he was going to light us at 10 and just wrap up whenever you feel ready. But if you're killing, by all means, go until you're done. Just tell me to come back on stage. I was like, all right. I tend to run long. I know that about myself. I learned about that in speech class with Mr. Smith. Episode 17. You guys should go listen to that if you haven't already. He's my speech teacher, but more importantly, my film teacher, and now my friend. His class is what showed me that I really exceed the limit, because I want to. It's really that kind of a thing is much more of a good attribute for a podcast, because I can make time go more, and I can really dive into ideas. But the idea of going too long, I knew about myself from speech, and so I knew whenever Levi said, "Don't," if you feel like you're done, get off stage. But if you're killing, if you're in the pocket, then keep going. And I heard laughs the whole time, so I was like, I feel like I have earned the right to finish strong. And so I had a joke that I tried opening with once, but it ended up being the strongest joke in the set, so I put it at the end. Because what you want to do, the rule I've heard a lot before, even before I ever did comedy, is you want to open with your second best joke and end with your best joke, right? I think that makes total sense. No reason to explain about that, but I don't think I did. I used my second best joke. It was because the idea I was trying to do, I was trying to get laughs right off the bat. Because if you get laughs, it's like you kind of get their attention immediately, and they're like, "Oh shit, this guy's I'm experiencing joy right now." And then you have their attention. Then you can start going into your long stuff, which I have plenty more of than short stuff. I'm working on writing shorter stuff, but for now it's a lot of full flesh bits, But I get off stage, and I never felt that proud of myself after doing comedy, because I just people were very happy with it, and I was happy with it, So I mean, and I don't want to a lot of this podcast is going to sound like I'm like sucking my own dick, and I want you to understand. I understand that I could use a couple ounces of modesty here and there, but this was told to me, and I would like to document it on the podcast. A guy named Wesley Boggs, who is a comedian himself, around the Terre Haute area. He's been to Hoppies a few times, and I know him. I just he's really really nice guy. And he shared some words with me outside on the sidewalk of Hoppies, and he's just been cool on Facebook, liking my drum covers and stuff. But he saw that my whole set, and he walked off when I walked off stage, and after the show was over, he was like, "Dude, that was like night and day compared to what you've done before." Which then he tried to backtrack because he didn't want to insult me, which I wasn't. I was more like, "Dude, I understand. I've tanked it at Hoppies before." It's because what they say in stand up, it's like you got to find your voice. In other words, you got to figure out Shane Gillis, if you were to read an anonymous joke on a paper based on your Shane Gillis knowledge, I imagine you could probably figure out if it's a Shane Gillis joke or not, because he's developed his voice. You kind of know what topics you kind of know if he brings up a topic, you kind of can figure out where he's going to take it. You kind of know his word choice, his cadence and whatnot. You can't really get cadence on paper, but the idea is that he's figured out what works for him, And I think Amy Mashevich, who I mentioned from Mitchell, Indiana. She was told me a couple times the past few days. She goes, "It's really. I think you've seemed to have found your groove. You kind of found your voice." I was like, "Thank you very much. I really appreciate that." And Wesley Boggs, Mr. Boggs, he said, "I'm pretty sure you had the set of the night." And I was like, "That is wild because I've only been doing comedy. The first time I ever held a microphone we're approaching a year ago because it was October 25th, right? But that was a very like spur of the moment thing, and I'm sure you guys have heard the story by now. This is episode 26 or so of the pod, and that was a you know I'm lucky I had the video. I wish I hadn't posted it now just because of how much shit I got from it. But because of the shit I got from it and how I had to defend myself, I was like, now I can't take it down because there's a bunch of history in here, and plus it's something to kind of show later on to myself. So it's important. I think it's very important to, what am I trying to say? Like, I kind of lost my train of thought just now. I was visualizing a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, a year ago. Yeah, I guess I've been doing comedy since if anyone asked me, I've been saying I've been doing it since September since December 2024, because then in December that was the first time I decided to do it again. It was my choice. It wasn't just like an option that was delivered to me by Avery. It was like he wasn't like oh, you want to do stand up. It was more like, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to do this. So I talked to Stratton Smith, and it was December 14th, Saturday, December 14th, 2024 was the first time I deliberately did stand up for the first time. And if you're coming to the September 26th show, which is next Friday, which is 8 days from when this gets released, you'll see him. I haven't seen him since December though, because he was at Be Here Now in December, and then I saw him the next night at Hoppy's, which was the first night I ever went to Hoppy's. And since then, I just see him online, everything on Instagram and whatnot. So it'd be cool to see him again. Because I remember almost none of his material, so it'll be all right. But I was talking to Stratton before the show started, and I was like, "Yo, I did stand up here like 6 weeks ago. I've only done it once." He was like, "Dude, do 5 minutes, do a guest spot." I was like, "Fuck yes, dude!" And because of all the podcasts I listened to, and all kinds of shit, I knew what a guest spot was, which I imagine you can figure that out if you don't know. But like a spot is what they just call, if you're on stage for whatever amount of time, that's your spot. Like, oh, I have a spot tonight, or it's I did 4 spots over the weekend. That's kind of comedy terminology. So a guest spot is like, oh, this guy wasn't supposed to be on the show, but now he is. You get it, right? So I did 5 minutes there. That was cool. That was my debut. So I've only been doing comedy for, today's the 15th, so for 9 months, right? It's a full pregnancy, my 40th week. And looking at that poster on the wall, I don't know everybody's history, but I know, so Tina's been doing it for 10 years. She's what she said. Jamie has to have been doing it for a long time. He just had a stage presence, and it seemed like he'd know some shit. TJ said he's been doing it about 3 years. Laura, I know, started roughly last year or so. Will's for a while, and then KJ, I think he's not that older than me, so I imagine he's in. But I think I was certainly the youngest guy on the lineup. I was probably the youngest guy in the room, and I was the least experienced. So the odds against me were, to do well was just I think I did more. I think I did better than what everyone expected me to do. But for those people who didn't know me, who were just strangers, I think I just seemed like I fit right in with those guys, which was my exact. That was what I was trying to do, So that's my thoughts on Terre Haute. What a fucking blast that was. It's on my YouTube, but it's unlisted, so it's for me to kind of send around to people who want to see it. But I'm doing that material and some more stuff at the Groggy Goat show later this month, and I'll probably post that as well. But point is, I think we're gonna move on to. Well, oh yeah, actually, we left Terre Haute after we got Denny's, and I had this voluptuous cheeseburger, and I got paid, not to toot my own horn, I got paid $25 for my 15 minutes on stage, which means I got paid $100 an hour. That was my rate, which is pretty cool to do comedy. That's ridiculous, but I used that money to tip our waitress at Denny's, which felt like a big baller move. I was like, man, I don't even need this money. I had all the experience in the world. You have this. Go ahead. And I used to be a server, so I think tipping people well was just. I think everyone should, for a little bit, try out the service industry as a job just to see what it's like, because you'll never not know what it's like after you've worked at one of these places. And I think you'll forever have empathy, and you'll see how hard they have to work, you know. So, and I certainly recognize that, and I also judge the shit out of waitresses now because I know what it's like. And she was killing it, and I was in a very good mood, so I was like, I'll just give her all my cash. That's cool. Which was, I think that made her night. She was she's very respectful about it, and also it just seemed to really brighten her night. So that was cool. That was cool. I got to do that. And then got home and I went to bed like on time. You know, I think I went to bed around 2 a.m., which is like for a Friday isn't terrible because I usually go to bed around 12:30 on work nights. I almost had school nights just now. Believe that. But I called this my best weekend ever because I had a really good Friday. Like it was the 21 Pilots album, right? The show. I also forgot to mention I got out of a ticket because I was driving from home to Paragon, where we're all going to meet up in carpool from Paragon, and I ran a stop sign that I've ran 150,000 million fucking times before, but I just didn't. There was no sign of me stopping at all, and I kind of jumped over the railroad tracks. But when I turned to go to the gas station off 69 or 67, I got pulled over, and I didn't even know it was for me at first. I was like, some dumb motherfucker gonna get his fucking shit taken care of on a Friday. What an asshole, you know. And then he pulls up directly behind me, and I'm like, I don't know what I've done. So I just sat there, and he pulled up, and he was like, "How you doing, sir?" And I was like, hi, officer." And then, you know, he was kind of yelling, which I understand because it was a really dumb move, and it was risky, and it was dangerous, and I was just being disrespectful to a stop sign. But he basically was just like, "I see your license." And I then give him my credit card on accident, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm just a little worried." And then he was like, "Next time, stop." But he kind of a little more angry than that. I just want to peek the microphone. But you know, he let me off, and I was like, "Good God, that would have really ruined the day." But my day was going so good that my good vibes like got me out of the ticket, you know. So I think that's all of Friday. Yeah, half day at work, the nature walk, 21 Pilots album, waking up on time, getting out of the ticket, and that badass Terre Haute show. You know, that's Friday. So then Saturday, I already had some shit worked out. Right, I was gonna wake up before I was gonna wake up at a single digit hour, and so I can enjoy the morning, you know, and have a fun little drive. And the idea I had was what I like to do now. I was talking to Will Rich. He was on the show once at Hoppy's, and he was saying how it kind of takes quite a while to figure out how to write, like what's best for you. Like, are you a guy who just uses his notes app? Are you a guy who strictly works stuff out on stage? Are you a person who writes stuff down and has to have like a perfect script? Are you somebody who just, you know, knows your shit, you know, just riffs all the time, you know, whatever. And so I found that because of all my marching band experience, learning all the show music every year, I, I I learned that I have a very visual memory, right? So it's almost like it takes a few weeks to kind of download every single like detail of the show music, and then it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. So I realized that if I do the same thing, take the same approach with my comedy notes, if I can see it in my brain, then I can just it's basically I have a built-in like memory notebook to work off of, which is really really helpful. That's what I did. Um, I like to write. I don't like to write in my room or like places I know because I'm surrounded by too many things where I could be distracted. I could get on my phone for too long and be like, "Fuck, I've wasted an hour just watching dumb shit on Instagram Reels." My mom could ask me to do something, you know, and I was like, "Absolutely, you let me live here rent free, so I'm gonna do whatever you need." But it does interrupt what I was trying to do, and I want to be in the groove, so I go to Starbucks now. Right, I'm a Starbucks guy, and I realized Starbucks isn't just for white girls who have a caffeine addiction. No, they make quality ass beverages, man, and I really enjoy the way they taste, and I really enjoy the way a Starbucks smells. I love a coffee shop vibe, and so I was gonna go to Starbucks in that morning, and I did. But first, I went to the gym, and I think I had a really good workout. It was chest day for me, so I did. I'm not gonna get into my gym workouts because people would probably judge, but also it's just not worth mentioning. Just know I did chest day and I felt very good about it. And then I walked from the gym to Starbucks, which is they're like a quarter mile away. Not even that. It's like it is. They're so conveniently close. I can just park my car in this big parking lot and just like maintain that area. It's so nice. So I get to Starbucks roughly quarter till 11, which is great. I usually get there in the afternoon, so actually being in there in the AM was nice. It was much more busy than I wanted it to be, but you know, Starbucks, only Starbucks in Martinsville, so you got to do that. But I sit down and I start writing all kinds of stuff. I had some notes from my buddy Christian, which you got he'll be on the podcast in the coming future for sure. But I had Christian uh, and we were at work and we were just like riffing on some funny shit, and I wrote a lot of it down, and I had to get it from my like little note cards I take at work, and I wanted to put it into my notes app on my computer. But if I put it in my notes app, I can look at it on my phone and my laptop, so it's kind of a universal way to write. And I have like the dark mode turned on, so it just looks better. I just like it like that. That's a lot of what the Starbucks stuff is just me sitting there with like a notepad and just like surrounded by a bunch of shit on a desk, and I just kind of put stuff from physical, actually written stuff out onto my laptop. But also, if I'm in the groove, I will listen to the same playlist only at Starbucks. It's like a reward. It's this really uplifting, fun, vibey ass I almost said podcast again, playlist, and I love that playlist. Matter of fact, a man named Eric Hook, who is going to be on the Groggy Goat Show, another Bloomington native, really good comic, really good to me as well. He had this joke where the punchline, I don't want to ruin the whole setup, but the punchline was 1,000-pound hot dog eating pedophiles, which I mean, dude, that's hilarious. Just all those words put together. So when you said that, it jarred me. I loved hearing that, and I immediately wrote that shit down, and I was like, I need to make this the podcast or the playlist cup. Damn, I did that 3 times. That's crazy. And then the photo I have of for the playlist is a picture of me watching Dave Attell's most recent stand-up special called Hot Cross Buns, and it's me holding 2 bottles of Doritos soda, and there's this big ass burrito on a plate in front of me, and I took that on. I think it was like late July, had to have been. It was the second to last Cup and Kettle show that I was on, and I did a good job on a Monday, and the reward was me taking that picture. It was just so, and I got high. I hit the card a couple times, and I was like in the groove on a Monday. So that picture just reminds me why I'm writing, because I wrote all that shit down, and I got rewarded for it by doing good doing a spot, a 5-minute spot. So I love that playlist, and I got a lot of shit done at Starbucks. I wrapped up around I was there for like at least 2 hours. I had a venti matcha with four sweetener pumps and 4 cups of matcha. So it was very green, very good. Matcha is like this, like, I don't even know what it is. It's just green, but it's like green milk, and like it's like earthy. I have no idea what it is. There might be caffeine in it. I don't really know, but it has like this very subtle taste to it, which I really like. And because it's green, it feels healthy, even though it might not be. But I had that, and I really enjoyed it, and wrapped up. And then guess where I went next? I mentioned the weekend before. This was the day after the stand-up show in Mitchell, where I did 10 minutes with Brian and Amy. The next day was the 21 Pilots listening party. This was September 6th. Now, September 13th, I went back to the same place I went to listen to the album originally, because I had bought 2 vinyls from the record store, because they were selling these like these like exclusive pre-ordered ones. And Alexa Hildebrand, longtime friend of mine, she's the one that got me into 21 Pilots in the first time. She and I went up there together, and we both listened to it with a bunch of other fans of the band live. It was really cool to listen to everything all at once. And then when you walk in, everyone grabbed these little note, what am I thinking of? Like little pieces of paper that had a number on it that corresponded with you. And then if they called that number, then you got to go and pick out a vinyl, you know. And I'm pretty sure if anyone who stayed got to do that. But Alexa had to leave, and so she gave me her number, and then I ended up getting called. So, and I was under the impression they were called these exclusive picture discs vinyls. But when it said picture disc, I was thinking it was for CDs, but they printed on a vinyl, which I was like, cool. So I bought the vinyl. I bought a regular vinyl and the special one, thinking I was going to get a vinyl and a CD. But then they gave me two vinyls, and I was like, this is not a bad problem to have at all, because I already had another CD coming in the mail, which is right over there. This is for the album Breach. It came out literally 3 days ago, as of me recording this. A lot of vinyl and CD talk, but I gave the other one to Alexa. First of all, because she's one of my best friends. Second, I wouldn't have had bought two if it wasn't for her. And three, back in our junior year, she bought two of the same 21 Pilots vinyls, and this time it was for Scaled and Icy, which came out when we were sophomores. And she gave me that vinyl just because she actually bought two. So I was like, I'm going to pay it forward to her, and she has one as well. So that was really cool. So that's what I did on Saturday. This past Saturday on the 13th. And I just drove to Indy and came back. And so after I left Alexa's, dude, guess what? I wanted to reward myself because I made a good breakfast as well when I got home from Burkhart Creek. I ordered myself some motherfucking Domino's. Stuffed crust pepperoni, one half with mushrooms. And then get this. I wanted to make it a little bit more colorful because I was like, I want to get a classic pepperoni slices, some rooms and ronies, mushrooms and pepperonis. But I was like, it's a little too dull. Maybe I should get some color on there. But maybe I don't want banana peppers on it exactly. But I do want them. Maybe we'll have some at home, whatever. I kind of just like, maybe I'll try banana peppers later, whatever. Swear to God, when I got from the menu to like the sides and stuff, there was an option for, would you like a side of banana peppers for 69 cents? Which I'm like, that's crazy because now it solves my problem. And it's only fucking 69 cents. That's insane to me. It felt like divine intervention, like a Pulp Fiction moment. It was wild, right? So I get home with that pizza, and all of Max's friends are here, and I was like, I do not want, or do I intend to, share this pizza? So I smuggle it in with the bag that the vinyls came in, which were conveniently the same size as this 12-inch pizza. So I bring that pizza into my room. I put together this snare drum project I've been working on, and it's something I've been wanting to do since I was 12, right? It's what they call a ballad snare. And Josh Dunn, a man I have been studying since I was 12, he had this on his drum kit for the Bandito tour back in 2018, 2019. Essentially, it's a 14-inch in diameter floor tom, so it's 14 by 14. It looks like a floor tom, has floor tom leg mounts, but it has snare guts on the bottom. So it's like this really deep-ass snare. And I thought it was so cool, and it was such a vibe, and I'd never seen some shit like that before. And I was like, I bet I could make that if I just had the instruments, right? So eventually, like a year and a half ago, when I bought my SJC kit back in June last year, which was a 12-inch, 16-inch, and 22-inch three-piece configuration. They also made add-ons, so I bought the snare drum that comes with that kit, and I bought the 14-inch floor tom add-on, which, now that you're ahead of me, now I have every ingredient I need to make a ballad snare. Only problem was I don't know how to make the actual holes to put the hardware in on the floor tom. So last week, my grandpa Tom and I got together and we made that shit happen. And all it was these like 4 precisely drilled holes into the side of this drum, and then away I went. I put the shit on there, and then all I do is tune it, and now we're in business. Soon I'm going to have new heads and new snare wires for it, so it's going to sound great eventually. But that thing is so fucking cool. I love having it. It fits right in with my shit, and it sounds so different from my main snare, which is very important because I want to have 2 different vibe changes, you know? So that's what I did on Saturday when I got home. Eating a few pieces of pizza here and there, watching Jordan Jensen's new special on Netflix. She's hilarious. God, she's so fucking funny. I think that came out the Tuesday of that week, which would have been, what, September 5th? No, that's wrong. September 9th, we'll call it. I think so. So that's when that special came out, and I was watching that. And then, night's still young, everybody. I woke up around 9 o'clock that morning, but, you know, and I've had a full day of shit. You know, the gym, some matcha at Starbucks, doing some funny business. Then to Indianapolis and back. Went to Alexa's, saw her. Got the pizza, and then I made the drum. And then guess what? 10 p.m., 13 hours later, I'm off to Bloomington to go to my buddy's house. Not just my one buddy, I'm talking plural buddies. And it's this little house party that, they're just like, yo, function, show up and shit. And I was like, great, I'm going to do that. I'm certainly going to show the fuck up. And so I did. I fucking did. And the weekend before, I was there the same day. I was there on a Saturday. And at this function, I drank what? I think 2 beers, had 3 or 4 shots, and then I hit a bong twice. And all of that together, over the course of a night, like a long night, isn't that much if you pace yourself. But I did all of that in about an hour or so. And the alcohol and the weed, like, really hit me at the same time right after I hit that bong hit. And I just kept going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And I just was, oh God. I got inside after, because we smoked the bong outside on the patio. And then I walked to what they have a downstairs bar, which is really cool. But I sat on the stool and put my hands on the bar and was just like resting my face in my hands and like all my arms and stuff kind of crossed up. And then 2 different girls were asking me if I was okay. And this is, of course, this is last Saturday. This is September 6th, the same day as the listening party in Indianapolis and Terre Haute, which is where I saw the brewing company, like the stand-up venue. So this is later that day, September 6th. I'm sitting on that bar, and every time they ask if I'm okay, I bring my head up. When I open my eyes, it's still dark, and then the like eventually comes in, and I just go, "Oh, I'm all right, thank you so much." But then I have a problem because I don't know I don't know where my hands were again. There was no memory on my arms, which was so disorienting. I hated it. But whatever, it's fine. I made it through. Eventually, I saw the couch was vacant, and I just was like, oh, I'm gonna go over there. I shit you not, when I get up, I like stumbled. I almost tripped, and then I just laid there and I just passed the fuck out. Someone put a blanket on me, and I was just out for the count. And I even, in that group chat that same day, I was like, yeah, I got a feeling I'll be there till like roughly 7 a.m., something like that. And then Austin Bray took a picture of me with that caption on it, and it's me clocked the fuck out on their couch at noon the next day, 5 hours later than I suspected to be, but whatever, who's counting? But this past Saturday, September 13th, I was like, here's my chance to redeem myself. I'm gonna go completely sober the whole weekend because I don't want to ruin some shit. I have a good thing going. I'm on a streak. Let's not do that. And so I did that, and I met some twins. Shout out to Pope twins. Those were some fun ladies to talk to for the party, and I was just myself, making them giggle and whatnot. And that felt very nice to kind of give somebody joy just off rip. It was great. I was making fun of the way their names are spelled. It was nice. That was a lot of fun. And then I talked to Reese a bunch. We talked about Superbad. Everyone was dancing to a Taylor Swift. I had a bunch of air drumming going on the whole time. There was the boxing match with like some undefeated Crawford and I don't even know. I wasn't like really caring about the boxing that much. But this is more just like painting the picture for anyone who had a similar night that night, or me later when I forget a lot of these details. Oh yeah, they broke a bong. That was pretty funny. And I brought the water in. I was the water boy, and the joke I had was I was like, "Go ahead, take some water. Don't worry, they're all NA. I'll be here all night." Anyway, so that was fun. That party was great, and then I was there until like 2:30 or so, and I got home around 3. A little after 3, maybe like that. But I had pizza waiting for me because I was like, Luke, you're going to get 2 meals out of this pizza. And boy, did I. God damn, shit was so good. So I get home and I turn on a podcast I was listening to. It was Joe List on Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. What a glorious episode that was. And I just eat the pizza and just like drifted away. It was great. And then I went to sleep, and I woke up again in the morning the next day. This time it's Sunday, And I was like, ooh, you know what I should do today? I should do some drumming. It's so nice to not wake up hungover on a Sunday because the Sunday before I woke up at their house at the party house, and I had about an hour to get to my mamma's house, which is easy drive, but I didn't have my phone charger with me, so I was like, I need to get my phone charger from the house, so I had to go all the way to Bloomington, from Bloomington to my home, then from my home to Martinsville, then back home, and this was also the day of aforementioned uh, Patrick Eaton. He had a birthday show with a bunch of people booked on it. He had a birthday show at Hoppy's that night, and Reese and I were supposed to go together, but then I ended up taking a nap from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m., which is the danger zone for a Sunday nap because then I was fucked, fucked in the face for life. Forget who says that. Someone says that. I think Louis C.K. says that in one of his specials. Yeah, it's Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting about do you like the apples? Sorry. Anyway, that's actually the name of that special. Sorry. Is it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Sincerely is one, and then Sorry is the other one. Yes. Point is, yeah, hungover. Yeah, 5 to 9. Yes. Then I was awake from 9 p.m. Sunday until 11 p.m. Monday. 26 hours I was awake. I went to work, got to work on time, came home and whatnot, but also fought off sleep for a while too. So I was proud of myself for that. But that's just what goes to show when you do substances. There's a push and pull situation. You have fun for a little bit, and the next day, if you overdo it, you're fucking shit out of luck, man. I also ate a big dinner at my mammal's house, and I just felt bloated and fucking stupid. That sucked. And then I had diarrhea the next day. Just not good. I didn't feel like myself until like Thursday afternoon, which is where I filmed some drum covers, which are coming out this week actually for games we play. That's one of my favorite bands of all time. You probably hear me talk about them before, probably in the first podcast, I think. But we're about 47 minutes in already. I'm gonna tell you guys about Sunday anyway. Whatever. But yeah. So here's my weekend theory. If you, especially if you do a half day on a Friday like I did, if you treat the rest of the week when you clock out on Thursday like the weekend, the way you look at work on Friday changes drastically. Because the way I look at it, you leave work on Thursday, and when I was growing up in school, Thursdays was my favorite night of the school week because it was like Friday's upon us. It's so close. I have plans. Like every fun activity I had planned for the weekend was coming soon. So like the hype for it was still there. And I'd always stay up late and like just like watch stuff on Netflix, some John Mulaney, some Big Mouth, whatever, Rick and Morty, use some YouTube, whatever. But then I think if you trick your brain into thinking that Thursday night is when your weekend starts, your Friday work time is like, oh, I just happen to have an 8-hour block where I'm doing this right now, and then back to weekend time, which is how I felt about this past Thursday and Friday, because Friday was just such a blip. I think I listened to like 2 podcasts and I was done. Yeah, it was a Sag Daddy to Pod. You guys should get on Sag Daddy to Pod. Brendan Sagalow. Hope I get to meet him soon. He's opening for Dan Soder next month, and I'm seeing him. So I hope I get to cross paths with that guy. I like him. I like him a lot. Cool comic. Good dude. I like his laugh. It's good stuff. So this past Sunday, drummed my ass off. I did not film drum covers that day, but I was working on my feet speed, and I played a bunch of songs from 21 Pilots' Clancy album. I was trying to figure out how to say it, like in terms of recency, but it's the second to last album they released last year. It came out last year. There's 6 or 7 songs in there I love to play. Overcompensate is so fun to play now that I know how to play it. Next Semester, the second track, great. Midwest Indigo. After that is Vignette, and then Navigating, and then I think I played At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. So that's about 6 of those songs. I played all those songs, and I rehearsed the Taylor Swift covers that I just got done filming today. So that was really cool. And I just felt like I made a lot of progress, and I was done drumming by like 3:30 p.m., right? And then I took a shower, and I got out of the shower. I did some dishes, and I listened to the new 21 Pilots album again, Breach, while doing dishes. And then I sat down in my chair and I wrote out my set for Hoppies that night. And it was all new stuff I'd never done before, stuff I'd never spoken in front of people. And for what it was worth, the couple of lines I flubbed, a couple of things that weren't exactly tied together, but I have a lot of faith in the material, especially the juggling stuff. And it's really fun to do it. I love telling those jokes, and those went very well as well. So I was like just in a great mood all Sunday. And then I got home from Hoppies, had a bunch of good laughs on the sidewalk. Cal made a joke about fucking a deaf girl, and his face lingered in my brain for so long. You guys probably don't know who Cal is. There's no way. But he's a Hoppies regular. He does stand up sometimes, but he has a lot of insight, and he's a good guy. And he certainly made me laugh really fucking hard before I left. God, I laughed so fucking hard. Because here's what happened. I forget why he even said it, but I blinked when his body initiated him doing the face, and when the sound happened, my eyes opened. So I saw his face, and I registered the sound with my ears at precisely the same time. So it shocked my system twice as much as it should have. So I keeled over laughing. Face was red, and it made him happy that I was happy. So it made me happy that he was happy that I was happy. And it was just great. So that was a great way to end Hoppies, and I was like, we got to end it there because I know how you got to bail after you want to end high. So I was like, I got to leave, right? So then I forget. I think I listened to some more Taylor Swift covers on the way home after that, just to make sure I prepared for today. So that was a good use of my time. And then I got home and I was getting the Moises files ready, which is what the app I use to separate the audio and stuff. And then I went to bed on Sunday, and dude, I made some bean dip. That was pretty good because I found out black beans have a lot of protein in them. So learn some shit new every day, Not bad. Woke up today feeling whatever, fine, sleeping kind of hard, but had a pretty easy day at work. Came home, filmed the Taylor Swift covers and some two other miscellaneous ones. Actually, from Thursday to today, I have filmed 14 drum covers, which sounds like a lot, but with all the preparation I do before I do it and sit there and play, it's not that much. And I did a drumming session on Sunday. Oh, and I also drummed a little bit on Friday too for a little bit. Yeah, dude. It was just the best weekend because everything just went my way, and I was doing stand up. I'm just like I'm following my fucking dreams. And I got that the new album was so good, and I took care of myself, and I didn't do anything stupid. Everything was just great. So I spent about 52 minutes talking about this. So I think I did more than I thought I was going to do. Because I saw at the beginning, I was like, I'm only 4 minutes in. Maybe I don't have it anymore. Maybe I'm not going to be able to ramble. Of course I could ramble my ass off. What an easy what an easy way to ramble. So fucking easy. So simple. But I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. Tonight on Keltoni, Triple H and Carrot Top are on the show. So that's going to be on like a few minutes, I think. So I'm going to tune into that while I edit the podcast and probably hang some shit up on my wall. Oh, yeah, speaking of the wall, Max and I were talking when I got... Oh, yeah, Max and I had a really good talk after I got home from Hoppies yesterday, which was great. And then I went to go edit the drum covers. Glad I didn't forget about that. But Max and I are both... I think Max and I have Paul brother energy. Like, we're not going to be discovered for a while, but him and I are each going to do our own thing, I think. People are going to know about us. That's my theory. I'm going to put that out in the universe now. Because we're both very... we're just so different, but we're best friends, and we love each other very much. And we have so many different things to offer between the two of us that he and I could conquer certain entertainment leaps and bounds. So I hope we get to do that in the future. And I'm so lucky to have him as my brother. I love him so much. You should love Max too if you don't know him. You're missing out if you don't know him. But the podcast wall, that's right. Max and I were talking about buying ourselves each where we'd each have like a burner phone, where our burner phone is like the same shit as we have as a regular phone, just another iPhone, but we just use it for like just for cameras. Because I was thinking about getting like some like Sony shit, something like that, where I don't know. I don't know much about cameras yet, but I was like, I think I need to get a camera for the podcast because it make the clips look better. Um, and I have the audio clips template figured out. It's the garage stuff with like the captions, and I know all that. It's the same font, everything's kind of uniform. But lately I've been decorating the walls in my room to make it look like, kind of fits my personality. And I'm gonna film the podcast stuff soon, right? I'm gonna get a projector, and I'm gonna make another wall which doesn't have anything on it anymore because all the shit on my wall is now over here. The wall I'm looking at right now is bare, and I think I'm gonna hang up a white sheet, and I'm gonna turn that into the projector wall. And then when I have people come over, we're gonna watch movies and do podcast commentaries over the movie, which, by God, that'll be so fucking fun. And those could potentially go very, people could like those a lot, and it might get some traction. I don't want to copy the account Razzle on YouTube. Those guys are really funny. It's a really funny channel. Um, I want this to be like a podcast experience where you can turn the movie on, and without there being any editing, it's me, somebody else, maybe even three guests if I wanted to, and it's us just talking about the movie the whole time, just how DVDs were back in the day. That's the plan. I'm really excited to do that, and so I'm gonna try to get that shit worked out. It costs money to do stuff like that, but they're fun investments to make. Where it's like, ooh, I want to buy this to do this, and now I just have it. I can do it forever as long as I don't break it. You know, it's worth to spend some extra bucks here and there. So that's the plan. I'm really excited for that. It's gonna turn my room into a fucking studio basically. It's part bedroom, part little kitchenette. I got a mini fridge and a coffee maker. It's part living room because I have a chair and a TV. It's part music library because I have like shit on the walls and I have a bunch of DVDs over there. It's part closet. I got shit on the walls, like a bunch of jackets hanging. I got a dartboard on that wall. It's part mirror. I got a part mirror, whatever. But no, my room is I've had the same room my entire life, and I'm very happy with. I've learned that I've been in my room so much that it's only like little pocket of space on Earth. This little itty bitty pocket of space where I can picture every single detail in this room. Maybe not every speck on the ceiling, but every single. I could draw it verbatim. I know where every DVD looks. I know where every yearbook I have portrayed on the entertainment center. I know where all the remotes are at. I know what coffee I have and what coffee I don't. I know what level the blinds are going to be tilted at, whether I want the sun going up or down, given on what time of day it is, I got it. I got it. But yeah. So expect that from the podcast soon. Get a lot of guests on. It'd be weird to get a teacher to come to my house, but certainly like close friends and maybe some comics I become closer with in the future. Be cool because I think doing the so here's a couple of movies I wanted to do for this, just like movies that everyone knows, so that way you don't have to watch the movie in order to kind of enjoy it, because if you already know it, kind of hear us talk about it. But Willy Wonka, the one from '71 with Gene Wilder, that's happening. I might do that one by myself just because I have a bit about it, but I don't think I'm gonna do a lot of it anymore. I think I might just like take a lot of the vessel of that joke and put it somewhere the fuck else, because I really like the structure because I copied somebody, which I'll leave it anonymous in case I do that bit somewhere else where it becomes something cooler. But there's a lot of shit I noticed last time I watched Willy Wonka, and I feel like I could easily be entertaining for that. But I feel like the commentary should be somebody else the whole time too. Talking about a movie the whole time just doesn't seem. I feel like I lose my mind. Doing this shit's fine. I'm just like rambling to nobody. Just I have like a story in my head that I just kind of work through. So whatever. But so Willy Wonka. I want to do Napoleon Dynamite. Certainly Pulp Fiction. Maybe Fight Club. The B movie. Probably like a bunch of old animated movies. So like Shrek. The Cat in the Hat. The Goonies. Reese and I watch movies a lot, so we'd probably do a lot of those. Maybe some Mission Impossible stuff or some shit he wants to watch, but just shit like that where it becomes a commentary thing. And I think to keep it legal on YouTube, I can do whatever I want. I can talk about just share a conversation about a movie. That's fine, but in order to keep. I think I might make a template where I use like whatever scene we're on. I just kind of have like a almost like a GIF or GIF, like revolving the whole time where it's the same shit um, for like every chapter. That way I'm not like just uploading the movie to YouTube for free. But it gives the viewer like an idea of what chapter we're on. So like if I was talking about like if I did like Back to the Future with Mr. Smith and John Kirtland, which is gonna happen, mark my words. Like if we're filming ourselves doing like watching it, then there'd be like a place on screen where it's like if we're talking about the the bell tower scene, like it would be a picture of Doc like looking crazy the whole time, and I would just like have that be that would be the scene. Or if the power of love, it'd be probably Marty like smirking at the guy that when he grabs the Jeep on the town road, be like that or something. I would just pick a freeze frame that kind of speaks for that whole sequence. That's kind of how I'm probably going to edit these, with some overlays and whatnot. So that's what Mama's Garage might turn into pretty soon. Probably expect me to do some more of these because it might be just me voicing my thoughts all the time. But I did an hour on my own. That's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of people can do that. Just ramble about some shit. But I don't think I'm rambling because rambling would be just me being, there's no substance. I was actually informing everybody. You guys probably stayed on track the whole time, but not a lot of dead silence. That's for sure. But I'm trying to work on speaking slower and kind of taking my time. That's really crucial for stand up. But it's all good. My voice is a little shot though. Now that I think about it, I gotta give my voice some rest. But it's been 61 and a half minutes. I think it's time to wrap this up. But if you made it this far, you're the coolest. Like, just if you support anything I do, whether it's drums, comedy, the podcast, I don't know. If you're like, notice my arms getting more defined. Oh, Luke's got forearms. Luke's got veins in his forearms. If you support me that way. If you're a fan of my Snapchat stories, all of that stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope all of this stuff ends up being worth it one day. And I learned from a guy named Emin, which is the lead singer and the frontman for Games He Play. I met him after the show in the Hi-Fi last September, about a year ago this Friday. And I was telling him how I want to do what he's doing is what I want to do. Just on tour, crushing it, playing these shows, having creative control. And here's the 3-word phrase he told me that kind of shocked my world. But I kind of already knew it. It was, just don't stop. And I was like, wow. That's pretty deep. Obviously, that's like common knowledge and like logic, but to hear a guy I admire tell me that to my face, it meant a lot to me. It meant so much to me. I was actually like drafting up tattoos last year, trying to think. I thought about doing that. So it was because it was such a what a taste of success that was. Because I got on stage with them and I was playing to a big audience, like a packed room, and I nailed it. I really did I did a good job, and I nailed that stuff, man. And so it was a very surreal moment. I loved it. And he was like, just don't stop. And one time I was at Goodwill a while ago, probably 5 years ago now, and I saw this shirt. It's something along the lines of, I want to know what happens if I just never stop, which is the same phrase, but it's just more wordy. Just don't stop is better for economy of words, but it all means the same thing. If you never stop doing what you love, I think the only way you're going to find success. And so I'm going to put that theory to the test for the rest of my 20s. And then if I get nowhere, which I don't think with my current trajectory, I should get at least somewhere. But I think the deal I'm going to make is like when I'm in my 30s, I might just be like, well, I really want to be a father too. So I might as well just focus on that as well. And I'd probably try to get a family sorted out by the time I'm like 33 or something. I don't know. 2038. So like before 2040, I want to be a dad, which means I only have 14 years to figure some shit out and like, be as successful as possible. So put a time frame on your shit and you start working harder all of a sudden. It's kind of cool how that works. So that's my closing statements. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go edit this podcast and watch Kill Tony. You guys have a great evening if you're listening to it at night. If you listen to this in the morning, you have a great evening later today. How about that? But I'll see you guys next week. Should have a guest for sure. Peace. Adios. Goodbye. Enjoy the drumstick.
You're listening to Mama's Garage Podcast.